and welcome to the HollyHood Zoomcast, episode 29. I am Haji Manj.
T. Goodman here.
Smallwood Worldwide.
Hey.
That's your man good here.
Hey, and we're back, guys. So what we came up with this time isn't a movie related, so to speak, but it's more so goes towards shows, television shows. And we were coming there and we were thinking about, there's been so many good shows made over the years, but there's always a show that seems to hang on way, way too long. And this got us to thinking, what are the 5 shows that you regret the most that hung on just a little too long? Some would say 1 season, some would say more, some would say both. But in this case, we were thinking about maybe 1 season too long or 2 seasons too long, or however you feel about it. So there's a lot of things that can fit in this category, but we all came up with our top 5, and at the end, we'll circle back around and do our honorable mentions. So with all that said, I will go first. Since I took it by the rules of the game, my first one that I felt went a season too long is the show Martin. Quite frankly, at the end of the show, Tisha Campbell wasn't even on that joint. I mean, there was lawsuits, there was backbiting, and it could only be the dynamic duo if both people are there. So my number 5 show of shows that went a season too long was Martin. That's all it is. Hey, Donna, what's up? All right, TJ, go ahead.
All right. Well, the number 5 was a Netflix show. I don't even know if you guys saw it, The Flash. It was pretty interesting at first, but as the seasons went on, it was like the same problem. They just kept transferring it to a different person within the group. And after a while, man, I was just kind of hanging in there just to see when they were going to cross the finish line. They just kept it going. But if they had ended it, around season 2 or 3 or something like that, it would have been a really good series. I mean, it wasn't terrible or anything like that, but they went on too long. They should have cut it short from that.
Fantastic. Antwon.
I second that motion. But it didn't make my top 5, but I feel that pain. Still going through it now. Scandal. That's my number 5 show. Right? Scandal was incredible when it first dropped, and then by season 5, I was like, we got to end this. After they introduced B613, Secret Agency, and all this other stuff, the storyline got murky, the monologues got longer, and I found myself waking up like, oh, the show went off? Okay, so there we are. Scandal, my number 5. Great show, about 2 seasons too long. I think it went 7 or 8 seasons, but yeah, they could have cut it at 5, maybe even 4.
Maybe even 1. No, I was kidding. Antwon, not Antwon. Greg, go ahead.
Talk about Olivia Pope that way.
I love it.
Yeah, the first one I'm going to mention was a great show, but it went on a season too long because the main person that the whole show was about fucked around and found out just for, and that is House of Cards. House of Cards was an amazing show, but once Kevin Spacey was discovered to be the scumbag that he was, they should have just went ahead and ended it because that last season was garbage.
Yes.
I don't know if you've ever seen House of Cards. Seasons 1 through 4, amazing. I mean, great acting, great storylines, probably, and I don't know the ins and outs of politics like that, but it seemed like one of the most realistic shows about politics. The dirty dealings behind the scenes and everything that, it seems very real and authentic. It's like the politics version of The Wire. But that last season after Kevin Spacey left, they should have just went ahead and canceled that right then and there and been like, sorry, folks. I would have rather them end it like that than end it on the sour garbage note that they ended it on.
Number 4 for me. Number 4 is the Chappelle Show. A lot of these shows that I'm going to mention are bangers, but the Chappelle Show, to me, the last season was unnecessary, not because it wasn't necessarily not trending towards being good. It's because halfway through the season, as Greg just stated, the main character left. And it really had a lot of bamboozleness to it when they tried to carry on the show with Charlie Murphy and Raw.
Yeah, they went straight honeycut.
Yeah, it was very honeycut. Just throw him in there. We'll do the rest of it. So I felt terrible about that. But you'll notice a theme in mine. A lot of these shows are shows that I liked and are great shows. So Chappelle Show was my number 4. TJ.
Yeah, my shows are ones that it just kind of stuck with me. Why they keep going? My number 4 was actually Good Times. So after James died, that was kind of the heart of the show, really. I mean, the show was about, a Black family, a full unit, and, struggling, trying to make it. I mean, it was really the first show of that kind on television. And then once he was gone, I mean, they tried a bunch of stuff. They tried having JJ, they tried centering the show on him. They tried making him be responsible. They tried, bringing another love interest. They tried, bringing on Janet Jackson. They tried all kinds of stuff, but it just wasn't the same, And they would have been better off just stopping it, even if they kicked off a spinoff or something.
It was unrealistic that Florida would have another love interest. But go ahead.
Antwon, you're number 4. My God.
Number 4, Homeland. I thought Brody should have died at the end of the first season, and that should have been the end of the show. It should have been like a limited series. Instead, they dragged it out. They prolonged his death to season 3, I think, and then they turned around and had the audacity to drag the show out 8+ seasons, and it was trash. And it went from incredible writing and a great story to just like, what are we doing? Like, come on, can't do this. So I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. Homeland should have stayed home after the first inning. That's it.
Damn, that hurts.
Greg, you go, man.
Simpsons.
You said
Let's
what?
just be honest. The Simpsons.
Oh,
Like this,
ooh.
not only going on too long, it is still going on. Like, I understand. Like, as long as they're gonna keep on writing them checks, I don't blame them. But I don't even know if anyone even watches The Simpsons anymore. I don't think I watched The Simpsons since right around the Mr. Plow years.
Once again, it's Mr. Plow.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not gonna hell of a run.
Yes.
But like most of the voice actors, shouldn't they be like damn near 90 now? Like it's.
Didn't one of them die recently too? If I'm not
They
mistaken.
have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That show was on for a minute.
But yeah, I can't even tell you if it's relevant anymore or anything. I just know it still comes on.
Once again, it's Mr. Plow.
And it's too much. Like I don't think anyone's has any interest in it at all.
Number
I didn't even know it was still on.
Since maybe 2005-ish, maybe. And that's still a long run.
Number 3 for this one, and we'll get back. We'll probably come back to that in a second. Number 3, Attack on Titan, which is, I have said this several times. Attack on Titan was made for a wider view audience in terms of, because it's an animation thing. It's a Japanese animation one, which would just cater to a certain group. If it was made with like real actors and they could pull off the same thing they did with animation, it would have been the number 1 show that has ever existed of all time. This show was incredible. However, I felt like they didn't necessarily jump the shark, but it was like they just kept making these reveals and kept doing these comebacks. I had heard like 2 seasons ago it was supposed to be the last season, and it was just like they're taking it too far. The story still is good, but I feel like honestly, if they would have ended it, and I don't want to do any spoilers, but if they would have ended it when they found out at the end of, I think it was season 4, when they found out ultimately what was going on, and if they would have stopped it there, that would have been fantastic. Don't get me wrong, the story arc still was cool that they had built out, but I mean, they could have ended it very easily right there. TJ.
Man, odds are better than you know. You know where that jump the shark expression comes from?
I do. Happy Days.
All right. Yeah. That's the I guess the symbol of something that's just gone too long. Right. Good usage there. My number, this is what, 3?
Yeah.
Is Game of Thrones. The Song of Fire and Ice. As much as I love the series, that last episode, they should have just ended it once Khaleesi was gone. That whole Bran the broken, Bran, you could be the king, Bran. All that needs to just go, man. It needs to just go. They should have ended it. They should not have ended it the way they did. It just makes me sick every time I watch it.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a show that went on too long. It just went one episode too long.
That's too long.
One episode too.
It stuck with me, man. I just can't get over it. They had done such a good job.
Fair enough. I can't.
They could have brought it home, but instead, I walked away like just shaking my head, like, "What are you doing? What are you thinking?" So anyway, number 3.
Antwon, you're 3.
My number 3, The Walking Dead. So,
oh my God,
the first 2 seasons, some of the greatest television and writing and everything that had happened at that point. And then after season 2, it just went downhill, and they stretched it to get to season 7 when they popped Glenn's eyes out of his head. That could have happened earlier, and they really could have ended probably around season 5 and jumped in some spinoffs, and it would have been more successful. But instead, I don't know what they were doing after a while. Sometimes I was watching these episodes, hanging on like a hungry pup, like, hey, maybe this is happening, maybe that's happening. No, the writers don't know what's happening. I don't even know if the actors knew what was happening. Hey, we're just gonna turn the camera on. You guys just talk amongst yourselves here. Like, it was horrible. And no, I never finished the whole series because I made a decision to stop it after a point. I was like,
Greg, you're number 3, man.
And that was higher on my list, but I'm gonna go ahead and just give you my number 3. We're gonna revisit The Walking Dead.
Okay.
But Saved by the Bell.
Ooh, I get it.
That goddamn cap and gown, they should have ended it. No one wants to follow Screech to college. All right, no one cares about Slater, getting a PhD in phys ed. No one wants to watch crap. And how the hell did Mr. Belden get a job at the college campus? It was just all garbage. Trash.
That was, first of all, that was super succinct. This might be the most sophisticated Superman take I've ever heard in my life. You know what I'm saying? And what a pull, Saved by the Bell. My number 2, 24. I love the Jack Bauer. I honestly, this is a take that I think more people will have after this is heard, although they probably won't hear it here. They'll hear it somewhere else. But that person will hear it here, and that is that 24 started streaming. 24 is the reason streaming is a thing today. I honestly believe that. I believe that's how great that show was. Especially the first season, especially, was incredible. But 2 and 3 were also good. Once it was 4 and 5, you were like, yo, Jack Bauer should have PTSD. He should not be allowed in the field. Why are they still allowing cell phones in the facility? It was just a lot of stuff that could have been rectified prior to.
He said cell phones in the facility. Like, what are y'all doing?
I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of things that could have been rectified. Like I said, as great as the series as that was, 24 could have ended a long time ago. Long time.
Once the 24 got to 48 hours, like, Jack should have been either in training or in the office with no phone, just sitting there crazy.
Yeah, they should have just. I digress, man. TJ, what's your number 2?
Time. All right, my number 2 is X-Files. Unfortunately, I really had enjoyed that show, but once Mulder left, there was really not much point, in my opinion, of continuing the show. Not that Scully didn't, she kept doing her thing. She kept, she did well in the role, but it just wasn't the same show after that. I mean, it just wasn't. I think they should have just ended it there, or like I said before, made a spinoff or something. But that one, I think it was too long once Mulder was gone.
That's a great pick.
Good point.
Antwon, you're 2.
Number 2, True Blood. I hated it at the end. They dragged out Bill's death. At the end of the show, there were so many different things happening storyline-wise. One of the main characters got killed by like a NPC. You're like, what is this? Who is this person that killed off the major character? They didn't care. And you're just like, why would you allow that to happen? Then you get to the end and then Bill and Sookie back and forth, and she finally kills him, and you're like, we waited all these seasons of great build-up for this. Yeah. Eric could have killed him in season 3 for all that matter at this point. The way this went is just, I can't stand when shows waste your time. And I was really upset with that because that had been a terrific, if you had read like the Dead in Dallas Sookie Stackhouse novels, you expected better, but trash ending. But I'll say that for my number 1. Go for it.
Yeah. Greg, you're number 2. Oh, go ahead.
A True Blood, that was an HBO show, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, HBO is the king of disappointing endings. They They really know how to let you down. They are the best.
More to come in honorable mentions. I'll just say that.
But okay. You know what? Because you already covered The Walking Dead, I'm gonna go ahead and take that off my list and use my honorable mention now. Because Walking Dead, you're right, just god awful, carried on way too long. But New York Undercover. Once they started bringing in, they brought in some white dude, and then they brought in the Tommy from Martin. Like, at least we found out what Tommy did for a living. But apparently he was a cop.
You do got a job.
He does have a job. But yeah, once they started adding in all these extra characters and everything else, it just ruined the show. It was dope when it was just Malik Yobo and what's his name, Eddie, and then they just started throwing in a bunch of extra stuff, and it got real corny real fast. I think there was only like the first 2 or 3 seasons were really good, and then they threw in the girl, and it was like, okay, fair enough, we can work with this. And then they threw in the white dude and Tommy. I was like, all right, this is getting out of control. Yeah, this is turning real stupid.
Yeah, that's about the time that one, and I think they got a white woman boss too. That kind of started.
Yeah, the white chick with the blonde hair.
Yeah, that was
the
when it started.
The black chick. Yeah, and I was just like, wow. It's time for me to end this.
That had reached like my favorite show of all time status at one point. But yeah,
it was a great show. The first 2 or 3 seasons were amazing. Yeah, and then they just was like throwing some handsome whites and Tommy.
Yeah, that's true. That was the formula that they calculated.
Why not?
Like carry the one and handsome whites and Tommy. I mean,
what about the storylines? Forget the storylines. We want handsome whites and Tommy.
And it equals handsome whites and Tommy. That's what they do. My number one, and Greg actually already touched on it, and that is The Simpsons. By God. I used to have this theory, and I do have this theory, that usually shows aren't the same after they come out with the movies, specifically animated shows. And that's a thing that can track. Teen Titans Go is a phenomenal kids show, but after the movie came out, even that one fell off, which seemed kind of impossible. Same thing for South Park, although that South Park has a much stronger argument than most people do to continuing their relevancy. But The Simpsons, they were about to spin out, and then they finally made that movie, and that movie was, to be blunt, trash. And then they were done after that, pretty much. But I mean, the run is record-breaking. Honestly, there was even a show that South Park did, which has also been on forever, where they had a whole show that said Simpsons did it. Simpsons did it. Like any story you come up with, Simpsons did it, right? That was the little thing. So I mean, it's like, all due respect, The Simpsons is probably, it's a GOAT show in terms of like just being on the air and being relevant for as long.
Groundbreaking and amazing.
It was amazing. Who would have thought that all would have came from Tracy Altman's weird little show and just put that in there. But anyway, that's my number one. Shout out to The Simpsons for going this long, but that's definitely my number one. TJ, what's your number?
Now, I don't watch this show, of course. I had the awful and terrible displeasure of seeing maybe 15 or 20 minutes of it years and years ago, and I can't believe that it still exists and that there's a bunch of spinoffs. Real Housewives of whatever city you want to say has gone on for way too long. I mean, come on, man. It's like the worst. It's the very worst of television. It's the worst of humanity. These women are completely terrible. And watching that show is like, sitting there and getting to know them. I said, why would anybody want to get to know these people? They're awful. Turn it off, man. Number one.
That's hey, man. The only thing that's wrong with that list is that there's too many on that list.
Grade A trash TV, yo.
They just kept the original names, and that was Gold Digging Whores. That was the original name of it. But
you know what? We can't go with that. Let me make this calculation. Tommy and the Handsome and Beautiful Whites. That's what we're gonna go with. Antwon, you're number one.
Keep it simple. T touched on it earlier. Game of Thrones, my number one. I couldn't stand the ending. Once again, it felt like 8 years of letdown, and or 8 seasons of letdown. When the show first came on, funny enough, I didn't watch it. I think they were like 3 or 4 seasons in when I started watching it, and so I watched like 5 seasons in 2 weeks. I was addicted to it. I was like, yo, this is great, you know. And then you get invested in the storyline. And to Greg's point, HBO, nobody does it better than them. Hey, here goes a letdown. And you're just like, what happened? And if you're invested in long form storytelling, you're like, what about this? And I thought that was going to mean, no, doesn't matter. Didn't mean anything. Writers didn't care for it to mean anything. And I also thought Cersei deserved a better death, and it should have ended probably a season earlier even. They could have wrapped up a lot of stuff, but terrific show, terrible ending. Throw it to who's next.
Greg, you're wrapping up at least our official list. What is your number one show that should have stopped, that didn't know when to stop all time?
There was 2 of them, and they're both equally shit.
So this is the thing. We got a tie here. We got a tie.
Yeah, we got a tie for first, okay. Man. We got co-MVPs for whackness. The Walking Dead. Sweet Jesus, I've never seen something drag on so long. That thing drags on longer than Black Church. It's just a bunch of. It just got to be so pointless after around season 3 or 4. I was hanging in there. And after a while, it got to the point where I was rooting for the zombies. I was like, I wish they would kill everyone. I want everyone in here to die. I was actively rooting for zombies.
That is hilarious. Yes.
And the other show, tied for number 1, Lost. Telling you right now, if you ever feel like wasting your life, you just go ahead, sit down, pull up a chair, and start watching Lost. The first 2 seasons is just like, okay, it's kind of interesting. And if you got half a brain, you're going to be like, oh, they're dead. Let's just wrap this up. But no, it's 5 more seasons. No, the 4 or 5 more seasons of just terrible writing. Terrible writing and storylines that lead to nothing. It's just trash. The only reason I ended up watching the whole thing is because I was bonding with my daughters during the pandemic.
Hey, how about
let's watch the show? The thing that they enjoyed most about the show was me complaining about the show.
So yeah. Let me go ahead and get to some of my honorable mentions. Greg has mentioned the one of them. Now, the reason why, let me clarify why these are honorable mentions in this particular case, with the exception of one. And I'll save that one for last because that's a really good one. I didn't watch these shows because I didn't have interest in them. A couple of them I didn't watch them. I'm even going to throw on the ones that I crossed out for my honorable mention list just in case. But Lost was one of them. I never watched that show because I was like, that seems pointless to get started on that show. Probably the most pointless show to get made, to get greenlit to me was this show called Prison Break, which I also never watched. And I was like, how long can this
horrible storyline?
Yeah, at least from afar, I never watched it, but from afar, I was like, so you have someone who's gonna break into prison to break their innocent brother out of prison. I was like, none of this is working. None of this is working. And then it happened, and then I was like, okay. So I heard that he broke the guy out, and then there was a season 2 where like, well, we're gonna do it again. It's like, wow, what?
Like, you got away with it.
Game of Thrones, I never watched it. I've watched 30 minutes of that show.
It's an amazing show, man.
I can't get into it.
Last episode.
A lot of people know my feelings about it in terms of just what my initial thought was. It might be my Lord of the Rings hatred flowing through me, as far as like when I just saw it, I was just like, this is more long-haired, dirty whites just fighting with swords. Trying to watch it. You know,
you're not wrong.
I was like, just trying to get more white actors more jobs here, like they needed them. You know, let's just have an entire civilization revolved around these medieval bastards, and let's have them black. But anyway, that was like part of my reason. I heard it was a great show. I tried to watch it a couple times. I only got 30 minutes through.
I call it it is the white wire.
I bet you if I can get past those 30 minutes, I bet you I'll be like, oh yeah, this is what everyone's talking about. But I just can't. But I heard that the ending was bad. I heard they got jacked last night. You understand? Like, it was bad. I heard it was bad. I heard they had like coffee cups in medieval times. I heard they had Apple Watches.
They had Starbucks.
Starbucks.
I was like, whoa. when they started serving Starbucks.
And then
I
I heard, I heard the final. I heard that even the show before the final show, which was like this big battle that they were supposed to have with that group of dudes that they were scared of for like 7
The White Walkers.
Yeah, the White Walkers.
It's
The White
100
Walkers.
years,
Interesting. Yeah, interesting that they used that phrasing. Anyway, so yeah, that even that scene was like it was filmed in total darkness. So unless you were in a room that was extra dark, you couldn't even see half of the stuff that was going on. So
Horrible.
Yeah. I just there's a lot to it, but that's enough.
Slapping the teeth.
Another HBO special that I will hurry up and get into is True Detectives. Now this one didn't make my list, and I did watch True Detectives. I've watched all of the seasons of True Detectives, and I didn't make the list because after the first season, they probably could have stopped. And it's not even because the storylines were bad. Everything was just wasn't done well, and
they could never top that first season.
And that first season was like an Illmatic type of thing where it's like, yo,
they
you
came out the gate too high. That joke was bad, yeah.
Yeah, it was a fantastic. It was when I go season by season as far as like one season, that's a top 5 one season of all time.
Oh, it was a great, yeah.
Actually, ironically, the HBO, we're giving them a bunch of hell now, but 3 of my top 5 just one-time seasons are from an HBO show. So
HBO makes great shows. They just don't know how to end them.
I'm sorry, 4. I forgot about Chernobyl. That shit was
that's great.
great. I forgot about Chernobyl. My bad. So
about First and 10.
Yeah, First and 10. The last one I'm going to touch on, and I know I've gone a little bit too long, and I'm going to let other people get their honorable mentions, is this show that I think a lot of people don't know about, and they tried to make an American version of it, and it didn't work out. But the British version of it, if you haven't seen it, if you see the first 2 of the 3 seasons that are available for it, you will agree. And it's got it's literally got the most shocking ending I've ever seen to anything.
Top 5.
Yeah. Go ahead.
What show is this?
Broadchurch.
Broadchurch. That's
the
right.
first 2 seasons, sweet Jesus, amazing,
immaculate. Some of the most immaculate things you'll ever see in your life. It was just
best Friday, top notch. It's that fire.
It's an incredible show, and I didn't.
If you ain't seen Broadchurch, you'll see that joint.
It's hey man, count me in. You know what I'm saying? It was like I don't know. I would say it's only probably about 21 episodes long because it's a British show. Yeah. But I'd say 16 of the 21 that you see, you're gonna be like, yo.
Yep.
Yo. And I mean
best British show followed by Luther.
Oh yeah, Luther's the best British show.
Luther's number 2. And that's
you got that ahead of Luther?
Yes.
Luther's
dope.
Oh, that's tough talk. I've never seen this show, but it better be good.
Broadchurch is amazing.
Listen. For me, Broadchurch and Luther were neck and neck, but Luther started pulling away once they get more seasons.
Okay. The first 2 seasons of Broadchurch got Luther, but after that, if you go further, Luther is better. If
you're going season to season like that, then yeah. If you're going season, even though Luther's first 2 seasons were incredible,
bruh,
that Broadchurch was immaculate. I don't even know where to start.
I think Broadchurch might.
Broadchurch is tough. Man, you know what? If I make
what? Luther might be better. I gotta watch them both again.
Luther's
I
better.
Love them both. They're both
Luther is better
super
to
dope.
me. But I'm telling you right now, remember how I was just saying the one singular season, that Broadchurch shit, that might even come out on top. That's how
that first season.
That was incredible.
Yeesh.
Okay, I've talked way too. I've talked like 3 minutes longer than I should have. Some other honorable mentions. Whoever wants to put on there, go next.
Oh, mine will be quick. They're not even shows. They're movie series. Fast and Furious needs to end immediately. It should have died with Paul Walker.
Send him a cease and desist, yo.
Greg, can I do my stupid story real quick? How I went to the theater and what I said? Can I just do that real quick for your
Go ahead.
Real quick. I went to see Fast and Furious with a bunch of people. I walked out the theater. As we were walking out, someone said, "Well, so how'd you like the movie?" I said, "Oh, it was okay. I mean, I could just never see them doing that again."
Exactly.
Is after the first one?
After the first one.
After the first one, it was
okay.
Later.
Little did you know they was gonna have plans for outer space. So there you go.
And another one that needs to stop immediately is Transformers. Stop ruining my childhood. You've made this thing a disgusting whack mess, and it's been garbage ever since. old, overly confused all the time Mark Wahlberg started acting, but it's good. I'm sick of Mark Wahlberg.
Confused.
You just stick to comedies, all right? Make me laugh, clown. Like the rest of your stuff is trash. He's trash. If you're looking, the only time Mark Wahlberg is good as a serious person is if he's like in there sometimes, like The Departed. Give him a line or two to be serious, he's fine. Outside of that, just make me laugh, Mark. You're not good at being serious.
Yeah, he's a co-op. Anyway,
that's scumbag Boston accent. I can't stand that nigga.
Yo, well, that would sound like a Boston accent right there.
That was Boston through and through.
What is hit through?
I'm sorry. But yeah, those two movies. And as far as things that went on too long, to me, Rush Hour, another one.
That's a good
one. When you did too much, man. You did too much. You should have stopped.
After two.
That's most of them. Lethal Weapon. I mean, come on. After Leo,
Lethal Weapon was pretty. It was pretty steady though. It didn't decline.
It wasn't good.
Terminator. Even though
Terminator
was great.
Ended a long time ago.
Yeah, Terminator. I'm sorry, Antwon. Did you have any?
Just two. Lupin, the French show on Netflix or whatever. I love the actor Omar Sy, but it could have ended after season 1. Maybe a season 1.5, but after that, the disguises got like ridiculous. And I don't know if they intended it that way, but it was it's so over the top when you're watching it. You're like, come on, he's right there. God. The getaways, the heist. It was like, I've had better luck in Grand Theft Auto than you do watching this game. Like, come on, what are we doing? So that one, and then my number one for the honorable mention is Big Lies, Little Lies. Like, it was clear that it was meant to be one season, and somehow they said, Meryl Streep, you want to do season 2? Yeah, you get to do this terrific screen. No, didn't watch, won't watch, still haven't watched. It was a waste of time. So there it is.
You ended it with the I can't beat and I won't be beat. TJ, do you have any other ones?
I mean, there's stuff I can name.
Family Guy.
Yes.
Yeah, well, yes. I had to jump off of that train when
I was
somewhere to the green. So
yeah, I feel like Futurama actually kept getting better the more I watched it. But
they just brought Futurama back.
Yeah, see, that's the part. That's the problem. Yeah,
and whenever they leave it alone for like 4 or 5 years, and then someone's like, "We need Futurama again."
Go ahead.
They got back in.
Yeah, go ahead.
And South Park, I'll say this about South Park: it's been on a long time, but unlike all those other shows, it's actually gotten better the longer it's been on.
It's still relevant. Like South Park found a way to.
They've improved. They've gotten better since their early seasons.
Yeah,
like they've been real solid since like season 5 or 6 on. It's been like,
and I feel amazing. Like they don't try to come out all the time. I almost feel like they come out every once in a while here and there. They don't try to do a full.
Nobody watches Comedy Central anymore. You got to kind of come across it. Yeah. Ever since Dave Chappelle left, nobody cares about Comedy Central.
TJ, I'm sorry, man. Go ahead.
That's cool, man. I guess Big Bang Theory. That one.
Spot on, sir.
That one.
Spot on.
Too long.
They even had that bullshit spinoff, Little Sheldon. Okay, keep going.
I've only seen commercials, but that never should have happened.
Let me tell you something. The premise of Big Bang Theory is one of the worst things that I've ever heard in my life.
That's enough.
Just the premise. You go out there, you talk to these goddamn nerds, you see how much hot tang they're getting.
All right.
Just talk to them. Just talk to them.
Of the number of nerds on the show, there was only one that was. So that's maybe a realistic ratio.
Wallowitz was getting some. That cornball Leonard was getting some. Even
Wallowitz girl was a nerd too, wasn't she?
Except for the handsome Indian.
That's true. Wallowitz's girl was a nerd too, though, right?
And she was bad. And I'll tell you, that bad nerd would have been with some. There would have been some black dude borrowing her car. Let's just be honest, Joe. Let's just be honest.
That's our show tonight.
Tyrone hasn't fixed that
coming out.
Where's Tyrone?
We like to thank everybody for coming out, joining the show. TJ.
Well, it went on too long. I know that. It just.
Yeah, mad season
too long. I never was that into Friends, but I've heard from people that are into it that they could have done without that whole last season. They said it was completely different from the beginning, and that there was just like random hookups to end the show and all this kind of stuff. They're pretty disappointed.
I said I never got into it. And there's other
people were disappointed though, big time. Yeah.
We could do another one that shows the should have kept going. Like Martin, if Gina would have got it together, they could have fixed that show. Could have kept going. And what's another?
Living Single could have kept
Living
going.
Color, they deserved it.
And Living Color did. And Living Color
definitely should have been going on. That should have been the Black SNL. They ruined it. I don't know what happened.
Keenan, they didn't want Keenan to have power like that. Long story short.
Of course they didn't. Yeah.
They said in Living Color is responsible for the Super Bowl halftime show.
They are.
Yep.
Because everybody, when it was halftime, everybody went to see watching Living Color.
Yeah. Next year they brought out.
They were like, we gotta keep people's eyes over here.
Wow. They called up Mike. They was like, I need a favor. They did like the Warriors. They immediately called Kevin Durant and was like, hey.
Crying in the parking lot.
I know we winning, but we really need to win.
One last one that I did see that falls in the same vein as The Flash is The Arrow, another Netflix one.
Never even bothered to watch it.
Yeah, I think they switched writers or something.
Oliver McQueen, yeah.
TJ, did you watch The Punisher on Netflix or whatever? Was it Netflix that was on?
Yeah.
Wait, the Disney Plus joint?
Yeah, that was good.
Okay.
Never watched. The only one I watched was Luke Cage.
That was pretty good too.
That should have kept going.
The first season was dope. That's another one where the first season, remarkable. First season was super dope.
Pretty good. The second season of The Punisher wasn't as good as the first, but I think it was there was a good reason for it. Like Frank Castle wasn't exactly the same person because he had gotten revenge on all the people he wanted to get revenge on. So now he's helping other people, so he's not as hardcore as he was in the first one, which is understandable. So I didn't look at that as a problem with the show. I just looked at it as a slight change in Castle. Go ahead, Greg.
I forgot my other show that I was going to had an honorable mentions. SpongeBob SquarePants.
Wow, that's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah.
That show's been on for 25 years.
That's a good one. That's a really good one.
I don't even know if they're making new episodes, but it's still on. Apparently, it's still new.
It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell if they are.
Yeah. I don't.
All right. I think.
But it's still on.
I think that's a perfect way to end it.
Dexter's Laboratory. SpongeBob. But anyway, go ahead, man.
No, that's a perfect way to end it. Remember, there's always work at the Krabby Patty. Right? Yeah, sure.